Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Pilot Review Show. I am Captain Blade J52 and I am joined by some of my merry band of misfit cohorts. Relaying his message through the comm system this evening, we have
Hello,
our RP
I'm
hologram
transmitting
Artie.
across view screen right now.
And then sitting at one of our consoles up there at the comm, we have everyone's favorite teacher of the Kirby variety.
I am here.
And then sitting at Tactical, we have our guest host this evening, which is our resident
Timberwolf. I have a beer under the console.
I know.
And he's not even bothering to share. Wait a minute.
Back.
So.
You jerk, is that my Romulan ale? That's a yes. But anyways, we do have one or two little things to get through this week and everything. Not really a lot going on, but do want to touch base on some stuff. Some of the things we do have are kind of big. But we should mention, and everything for those folks that are going to catch this, there are a few weekend events going on, such as a weekend sale at the moment, such as the 20% ship sale going on currently. So if you're able to take advantage of it while you're hearing my voice and all that kind of stuff, or you're seeing this later on, please do so. But getting into our articles and everything, we have our PC patch notes for the 3rd. Now there's not really a lot to them, but go ahead and touch base on them. For the Romulan Imperial Minefield, it says the mission reward box at the end now shows the player all of the rewards received, not just a random item. It says the fleet marks awarded to all captains now, not just level 50 plus. The damaged asteroid mining facilities Alpha, Beta, and Gamma now have small amounts of mines around them. It says be careful, this is a minefield after all. Resolved an issue that caused Romulan ships to fight each other at the end. There is now a small chance on each playthrough that a Romulan Republic ship will show up to assist. Resolved an issue that could cause players to get the Go To Rally Point button while already at the rally point. Resolved an issue that could cause the reward items at the end of the operation from being of a level appropriate to the player. Noted on Admiralty campaign progression that the goals apply only to Federation, Klingon, or Romulan Admiralty campaigns, and that's for temporal agents. And I think the stream is trying to have a little bit of a hissy, so let me actually go up here and do...
I told you, it's a Romulan ale kind of night. I told you.
I can remember how to do this.
I did not serve this crowd. I would like to point that out this time. You guys found your own booze.
And I'll sign out of Steam. That should stabilize the stream a little bit. I thought I had already done that, but anyways. And the next one, patch notes. I don't know why it keeps giving me the little loady screen symbol on my end. But anyway. Yeah, okay. Anyway, it says changed PC space auto attack default to toggle, which in game is listed as toggle target change cancels. So apparently they changed auto attack again. Changed display name of the auto attack setting maintain while button is pressed to maintain auto attack. And then the spotlight texture on Type 1 windows of the NX refit are no longer bright white, and the red alert prompts will not be visible when on cooldown for red alerts.
Well, I'm going to be the first one on this one, because one of your patch notes talk about they changed auto attack. I just checked mine, because I haven't checked mine until now, after the patch notes, and it had mine to simply disabled. So I had to switch it back to auto attacks.
In space? Or on ground?
On both. So there have been...
Interesting.
Probably for most people they're seeing it, but it might have been just a small hiccup where, you know, like they flipped 3 switches instead of the 4th one. So It'd just be something I would check just to be on the safe side, make sure in ground and space it's set exactly the way you want it as far as your auto attacks, in case there was a hiccup in the system.
Yes, most definitely. I've also had reports, and I've gotten the reports before this came out, but I'm wondering if maybe that's why they changed the display name for it, though. So the maintain while button is pressed for the auto attack. Changing it to maintain auto attack. I did get at least one report, I think it was 2, of somebody who told me they had that setting and they didn't have to actually push their fire button. It just, as soon as they got in range, you know, their weapon started firing. And I'm wondering if that's meant to be with that setting.
Interesting thing to consider.
Keep on mind they had to put, you know, be careful, it's a minefield. I mean,
yeah,
it says it in the name. You would think, you know, I mean, it's not every day you walk through a minefield and go, oh, there's no mines in this minefield. This is mislabeled. That doesn't happen, right?
Well, see, either that or it happens and then within 2 or 3 steps they end up stepping on one and blowing their foot off. Or something like that, or blowing a nacelle off, you know. Not that I've ever done that in a game or anything. Okay, yes, I totally have. But, yeah. So, that's our PC patch notes for this evening. We will have a link to you guys in the description and whatnot. But, moving along, now this is our biggest article, and we're going to take some time to dissect this just a little bit. And we actually have some numbers, which I apparently forgot to pull up. Let me do that. Okay. And everything for you guys over here off screen, because
I will introduce it. So
I will swap the screen.
What he's talking about is the Elite Starter Pack. So they are making a change to how subscriptions work. The lifetime subscription will still be available unchanged, but the monthly subscriptions are changing. So if you have a monthly subscription, don't freak out. I keep using your doing your monthly subscription, paying your $15 and getting your Zen and all of that and everything that you've been getting. Want to keep it? Don't worry. You're fine. Nothing will change for you. Okay? If you have not gotten a monthly subscription, but we're considering it, the monthly subscription will no longer be available for new subscriptions. Okay? Instead, they are replacing it with a purchasable pack through the C-Store called the Elite Starter Pack. And so when you buy the Elite Starter Pack, and we'll go more into this, I'm just going to give a quick overview. So when you purchase the Elite Starter Pack, there are 4 things that unlock for your entire account. And that's you get 1 new character slot, 20 shared bank slots, this is the account bank, that's 2 rows, 5 Captain Retrain tokens on a single character, and your energy cap on your characters are increased to 2 billion energy credits. And that's per character. Okay? So that's when you purchase the pack. Then, after that's purchased, you get the additional thing that appears as in your C-Store called the Elite Starter Pack Reclaim. And you have to go through and claim this once per character. That gives you 30 inventory slots, 60 bank slots, and 2 bridge officer slots. And all of this costs only 1,500 Zen. Okay, so that is the overview, and this is a one-time purchase. So now we're going to discuss. I'm going to open it up now. Discussion. Let's go.
Okay. Well, this is one of the main reasons I came on tonight, because I wanted to. I've actually found an article by Massively OP. It actually gave me some more of the details that was not discussed by their initial blog post. So I have a few more good things to say about this, but there's still one thing that bugs me. So from their blog post, they're talking about, you don't lose your existing subscription. Good. There's going to be no more subscriber lockouts on test server access. So from here on out, even if there's new content when it comes to, let's say, Expansion 5, or they're wanting to test something else for the next season and it goes on Tribble early, no more subscriber lockouts. So everybody will be able to jump on Tribble regardless. Okay, that's nice.
I'm going to pause you there. Are they stating that because of the last sentence?
Possibly.
Where it says, we're about to remove the subscriber-only restrictions on Tribble for Victory is Life. For future instances where we may want to limit access to Tribble, we'll reevaluate.
Yeah. Which, at the current... If they use the current way they're wording this after the patch and everything, then your only option if you're trying to limit access, and I'm putting this in air quotes right now, then the only way to separate the player base would be, if you have any holdouts that still have a monthly subscription and lifetime, which if their whole goal is to get everybody to move away from monthly to only have two groups, free-to-play and lifetime, the only way to split it is only lifetime players would have Tribble access if they chose to reevaluate and relock Tribble. And, for me, I'm sorry, but the whole monthly subscription thing is for those people that don't have $300 or when it's on sale $200 just laying around. And just go, hey, I'm just going to drop $200 or $300 all at once just so I can have a few items that I would gain over time with monthly, which for me half those items are outdated, because I'm one of those proponents that some of these unlocks for the 100-day, 200-day, 300-day, all of that, I do think they need to be revamped in today's game, because some of them are a little outdated, all things considered. And I know they revamped it once, but I do think it just needs... I think it does need a little bit better overhaul, especially if you're going to this setup where there's not going to be a monthly. You're not offering monthly to any players in the future. It's only lifetime or nothing. So I do think the lifetime rewards should be revamped if you're rescaling, basically how you're getting money from players in this regard. But that's the only way I can see they would have to reevaluate and lock down Tribble is, unless you've got a few monthly holdouts, it's going to be just free-to-play and lifetime. So that brings, depending on how many people have lifetime after this, that brings down the player base that can access Tribble when it's locked down, if they do lock it down in the future, a lot smaller. Because right now, at least you've got your gold members, your monthly access, along with lifetime. You at least can get some decent people on there. And I've seen that when I was in the Gamma Quadrant, when they just added it this week. You actually had some people in the Gamma Quadrant testing out the new content, testing out everything. But if you limit it to lifetime and you're planning on and banking on people going on lifetime right at the moment, that's a lot fewer players. Just because it's a sizable chunk up front. I mean, yeah, you've still got old players that probably bought in, day one or year one, but at the same time, those players might not have played for 3 or 4 years. Because we do have a lot of players that, even if they bought lifetime, they leave for 3 or 4 years because they're bored. Or they leave for a year, they come back for the expansion, then they leave for 6 months, and vice versa. So I would hope that they're just going to stop locking the subscriber lock on the test server, and just, if they wanted something that's, they don't want it leaked out, they'll just put it out like the day before it goes live, so it's not like a huge shock to everybody. It won't be like a month or two on there if they don't want to hide it. because otherwise there's a potential even less players are able to access it. You're locking out more of the player base, and that would make, you know, you keep your, I guess how they would call it, antiquated monthly subscription just for one of those perks.
True, but okay, so on your thing for why they're doing this, I did look it up because I did see it. So you said they're trying to purposely move people away. They don't want people monthly. And from what I'm seeing here, that's not the case. In fact, somebody asked if they were going to give us a reason why the monthly subs are going away. Star Trek Online, at Trek Online Game, tweeted back in response. The short version is the majority of people were subbing for a month, getting the rewards, and unsubscribing. So it makes more sense to just let you all do that. That is the biggest reason it seems that they're doing this.
But at the same time, what about those people that have to unsub they sub for that first month and they can't afford it, so that's when they lose their subscription and they come back. Or, you know, sometimes you have to, and I've had to do it once, I had to do it like a year ago, you switch bank cards. You technically have to, when you're switching it, the way it's almost worded is you almost have to technically unsub for like, 20, 30 seconds. You're switching payments. So you have to switch your payment style and then almost resub with a new card. Or let's say your card gets stolen and you have to, that your subscription is due, but you won't get the new card until after it's due. So if it's post-due, they cancel it, you lose your subscription. You wanted to keep said subscription. That's my big question is, yeah, there might be quite a bit that sub and then they go away, but there are people that they simply can't afford to sub every month, but they do realize the rewards. That's why they keep trying to resub. They might lose it for a month and they resub again because they do like the Zen bonus and everything. That does lock out people from doing it unless they want to do, this 1500. And to me, that is in a way forcing them in one route or the other, because there are some players that don't have the option that can sub every month. They might not be able to keep it after this month. So it's forcing them to either choose they're permanently free to play and they buy this pack, or they save up and then they buy a lifetime if they want all those rewards. So in a way, that is forcing them down one path or the other.
It is, but I think that what they were seeing was that people were doing exactly what they're saying. They were only subbing for the month for the purpose of unlocking the account bank, EC cap, the extra bridge officers, the extra inventory, the extra bank, all of which you keep when you unsubscribe. All of those stick around when you unsubscribe after that first month. So the only thing after that point, by losing the sub, the only thing you're losing is the 500 Zen. And if you're paying $15 a month to keep just getting the 500 Zen, you'd be better off paying the $15 a month and buying the Zen directly because you'll get more of it.
I mean, that's possible, but that's what I'm saying. For my thing is, my major gripe about it is the people that won't be able to do it because they can't afford it every month. They honestly want to keep it going, not just for the 500. They want to keep a monthly sub just because they want to keep a monthly sub. They want the extra 500, and they just want to keep up with it because they want to support the game. And the biggest loss is the 500 Zen, because the Elite Starter Pack is 1500. Okay, that's not bad. But if we look at it, and this was my other gripe, if you look at it from a monthly subscription, what happens if you save up that 500 Zen a month for 12 months? That's 6,000 Zen. Because there are some people that they're looking at the goal, and I know Darkblade's done it. I know I've done it. Artie's done it. Well, you don't want to spend that 500 Zen. You want to let it just sit there in the background and stock up because you want to buy like a buttload of keys all at once. Or, you might not like the ship packs that are coming out, but you're sure here in the next year or two, the 3 pack of ships you're looking for is going to come out or whatnot. You let it build up. Well, that's a nice tidbit to have in the background, especially for someone that's all they can spend on this game. It's $15 a month, it's for the monthly sub, and it helps them save up that Zen. Yeah, they could probably buy it faster if they were just pay out of pocket, but at the same time, a lot of people have also gotten used to the fact that they're spending $15 a month on World of Warcraft, and they don't get extra currency in game for spending $15 a month. That's just the subscription to play past the tutorial. And you know, we don't want to talk about an antiquated pay to play system.
Right.
You know, there's World of Warcraft, so at least here, $15 a month, you also get a premium currency that you can save up and spend.
True, but I mean,
to
again,
me,
if
that's...
you took that same $15, you canceled the sub, took the same $15 and bought it directly, you'd have 3 times as much every month of that premium currency.
Yeah, but like I said, not everybody can do that. Some people are just used to that.
But if they're paying for the
$1,500.
sub instead, they're getting the same.
I know, but at the same time,
amount.
you're thinking of, okay, well, they were used to paying $15 a month. Well, what if they don't want to buy $1,500 in Zen every month?
Then don't buy $1,500 in Zen.
But they're used to the subscription.
Then they get an extra $15 a month. But
you consider
I think we're getting
this is
past the big thing of this. So you were going to say, Chris?
I think you're missing my point. You can still buy the $1,500. You get all the unlocks. Well, once you're past that $1,500 that they spent in the C-store, they're still subbed. They still get more after that. They can still get more Zen. They still have the possibility for
the big
triple
thing
access if they decide to reevaluate and relock down.
They do, but the big thing I'm seeing with all this, like as far as some of the behind-the-scenes stuff with this, this is just now come across the wire. They could decide later on that, okay, for the people that still want to support the game and whatnot, if you just want to do a monthly something, here's the new things that we're going to do. Now, I think I can kind of see what Timber's getting at and everything, and I can kind of see your point too, Kirby. The big thing for me that I see is, okay, and this is for me one reason why I did a monthly sub and everything back whenever I first started out. I wanted to get the ships like the Chimera and all that stuff, because back then, T-File was the max that you could get and everything, and I wanted the ships, plain and simple. And I didn't have the $300 to spend, but what I could do was the $15 a month in order to get it. Now, yes, in the long run and everything, it is cheaper to just go lifetime, but not everybody has the cash to do that. But as far as the argument for the $500 a month Zen goes, I mean, that is nice. That is a very great thing to have. And if you're arguing it purely from the standpoint of the Zen, then yes, it would be economically smarter to just buy the $15 a month if you're going to spend the $15 anyway. But the counterpoint to that is, and I think this may be a little bit where Timber's going, but the counterpoint to that is, okay, yes, I could do that, but if I'm going to spend the $15 on the game anyways, let me do the sub, let me get the $500, and let me work towards the higher tier rewards and everything for something like the Chimera, like what's the tier 6 version of that ship now?
Manticore, yeah.
Manticore. Yeah, and let me work towards that kind of stuff. Because that, to me, was my ultimate goal whenever I subscribed.
Well,
I mean, yes, I wanted to support the game, but I also wanted those ships.
So at the same token, I could argue, then take that $15 a month that you would be spending on the monthly sub, set it aside, and then in, 10, in just a little under a year, buy your lifetime subscription, and it's all unlocked.
Again, you can argue that, but for some people, for a lot of people, it's the whole deal of, you're supporting the game. That's the whole deal. And yes, you can, and it's eventually going to go there. If it's eventually going to go there anyway, I get what you're saying. But for a lot of people and everything, they figure, okay, let me just do it every month and everything. That way, I could say I've been supporting the game. Because a lot of people, even if even if it's just the 15 a month versus all in one go. For a lot of people, that's going to give them the satisfaction of saying, you know, I was able to support the game this month. And, you know, help keep a game I enjoy around. Even if it was just
right, but
15
I mean, there's
bucks.
nothing stopping them from taking after they buy a lifetime subscription, from then taking the 15 bucks they would spend on a monthly sub and still buying the Zen.
I also support Murphy's Law.
So,
yeah, it takes them 10 to 12 months to save up that $200 to $300. But how many times when you're saving up for something, all of a sudden a random bill comes up or something breaks, and that $300 you had earmarked for a video game now goes to something like a car repair, and it now takes you 2 to 3 years because you keep putting it off for real life. Whereas 15 bucks a month in the background, you can part with 15 a month because you can budget that out versus, yep, I saved up 300. Oh, well, tire went flat, got to get a new tire. Well, it took me another 10 months, but I got another 200 to 300 set aside. Oh, well, got to do a fix here. And for some people, that's why I say the 200 to 300 for a good chunk of players might be where it's like that's too much of a chunk, because by the time they save it, something more important comes along than a video game that they play. Whereas 15 a month, that's a lot easier to take on a budget than a one-time hit that you might not even get to spend for a couple of years because other things that are more important come up. I mean, it could be anything. It could be an unexpected bill change, upgrade, you need a new phone because your phone got destroyed by the dog. It could be anything. That's my big thing on the lifetime is, yeah, the lifetime's great, but it's a huge chunk for a good number of players, especially when, you always have these doomsayers anyway. But you're investing long-term in a game with that chunk of money, and then you have to make for sure that when you spend it, it's not going to hurt the real-life budget. Because if you spend all that money on the game, let's say in October, but then you don't have enough money to pay the internet or the power bill, you just wasted a lot of money on something you're not going to be able to play anyway because you got to save up for the power and the light, power and the internet bill. That's why I've always liked having that monthly subscription, as available, because at least it gives people a cheaper option. Yeah, it'll end up costing them in the long run more than a lifetime, but for a lot of people that's more affordable. And especially when it came out, you already had games that had proven it works well to have it as a little minor purchase in the background. World of Warcraft, I mean, they still do it. They're not looking at changing that probably for as long as that game runs. And they also do a $60 upgrade for every expansion. So they charge for an expansion too.
Right. Now, I'm not saying a lifetime sub is a monthly sub is a bad thing. I'm not. Monthly sub is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But STO is choosing to move away from that and from offering that as a new option down the road. And I don't see that as a bad thing. They're giving us something, a one-time purchase that is a huge value that gives you the same benefit. The only thing you're missing is the 500 in a month, which, if you want that, spend the $15 you would have spent anyway and buy the Zen directly. You get more out of it.
I have to agree with this, as from how it looks, Cryptic, Perfect World, and all of them are trying to make Star Trek Online a true free-to-play. Yes, you still have to buy, Zen to get the ships and whatnot, but that's not required at all. I mean, all the stuff that you buy in the Zen store and whatnot is just bonus at this point. But as we've been saying before, the monthly subscription has been very helpful of boosting all that to get us further. It is not a requirement at all. The lifetime is literally it's just giving you extra stuff to play around with. It is not a requirement at all. So I feel like this move away from taking out the monthly subscription and just putting this little bit of stuff in the Zen store is a definite step towards being more of a free-to-play game instead of, World of Warcraft or Star Wars The Old Republic or any other online game that you're basically forced to keep on paying each month just to play the game.
See, I also see it as making those rewards that you were getting for you know, by unlocking the monthly sub, those unlocks as more accessible to players that don't have the money, because it's easy to grind 1500 Zen and buy that pack one time. Whereas a lot of people don't have the $15 to spare to put into it, but they want those unlocks. And currently, if you can't afford to get, even for 1 month, a monthly sub, then you have to grind out, you know, a lot more Zen than 1500 to get even just 2 or 3 of those unlocks, let alone everything that's there.
And that's also something good that Star Trek Online does compared to other online games. It gives you another way of collecting the special currency instead of just tossing your credit card at it. It says you grind out stuff in game, and then you can transfer that stuff to get the fancier cash, and then you can use that fancier cash to get anything else. You don't actually have to spend any money, like you said. That's something you can do.
Yeah. I mean, actually doing a monthly sub, you have to pay actual cash. You can't do it with Zen. But with this, you can buy it with Zen, and I can go and get dilithium for, you know, a few days and be able to get my 1500 pack, my 1500 Zen pack, and boom, done.
I think as far as this kind of stuff goes and whatnot, for me, I mean, if the argument is they just want to get the rewards and stuff like that, this is a very great option because it gives them the ability to do that, and it opens up a free-to-play option in order to get those rewards and everything that you would get from a standard month. So it does have its benefits, and of course so did the monthly sub. Both, you know, the monthly sub and getting a lifetime and just grinding stuff out. Each method has its benefits. It also has its drawbacks. I think we could kind of all agree on that. For me personally, this is something I worry about with the monthly subs going away. And some people may not care, and some people might. But if you're looking for just the rewards, if this is whatever's in this pack is all people wanted, this is a very great thing, then that opens up the other question too. If, say, somebody did want to work towards getting the Manticore, getting the Chimera, or whatever, and, you know, getting the other faction-appropriate variants for the other factions, then, to me, something that I see that's going to suck really bad, at least from what we see right now, and keep in mind, too, like I said earlier, you know, this is just the first bit of info on this. We don't know what else they're going to do after this down the road. They may come out with a completely new model, and they may give alternate means of getting this stuff. But based off of what we have right now, the concern I have is, what if I did want to go for those ships still? You know, what's an alternate means that I can get these ships without having to fork over the $200 a month? And
there
everything.
Are fleet variants of all of the veteran ships in your fleet starbase.
But see, here's the thing. Here's the problem. Those are character specific. Fleet ships are character specific. The ones that you get from the lifetime rewards are not. Any eligible character I have, and this is the reason why I'll always tell people, you know, go for the account-based variants first. Go for the C-Store variants first. Because if I unlocked, let's say the Manticore, since that's the current Tier 6 version. If I unlock the Manticore right now and everything, and let's say I have 5 characters that can claim the ship, then that's essentially 5 ships that I have unlocked when you look at it that way off of a single unlock. Whereas if I go for the fleet variant, then I'm not getting the special console. I'm getting it for just that one character. And if I wanted to get it for an alternate, I'm going to have to pay, you know, EC or Zen or actual cash in order to get those fleet modules, to get it on the alternate tune. And I'm going to miss out on masteries, traits, consoles, any of that stuff. I'm not going to get any of that. And the issue for me is I would want to see an alternate means for people to get this that, I mean, I don't expect them to give it away for free, don't get me wrong, but an alternate method of just being able to get just the ships instead of having to drop, you know, just the 200 one time for everything. And the reason I say that is, okay, in my case, let's say, you know, I'm well past the 1,000 days at this point, just for the record. But, and I'm going to finish off with this before we move to the next point, because we have kind of dogged this to death. But the big point that I see is, for me, let's say, God forbid, I had to stop my subscription at around the 800-day mark, and then this happens. Well, I've stopped at the 800 days. I now no longer have any way to get the Manticore, the Chimera, that kind of stuff. I have no means of doing that, because I can't just sub for the last 200 days, and at that point, you know, it would make no sense to me to pay the $200, assuming it's on a sale, or the $300 just to get those 6 ships. It's not worth it to me at that point. Whereas the being able to keep subbing would have been worth it, and everything. But, anyways, that's some of the thoughts. Now, really quickly, we actually did, for those that are curious about buying the pack, you know, we did kind of go on a little bit longer than what I wanted to, but anyways, we actually did work out the math and as to what kind of a value you're getting for people that are curious, and I had it saved in a little notepad file here. Now, this is assuming that you break it down by the current cost in the store. There's one of the guys talking in chat says, it does indeed, MMO anthropology, and that is a very good thing. And breaking it down by thing, so let's assume just the one-time unlocks and everything. Let's look at this here. Now, me and Kirby actually sat down, and keep in mind, you're getting all of this for 1,500 Zen, so you're getting a very good deal. Anyways, for essentially 15 bucks. The energy credit cap on its own, we figured, was 500 Zen. And then for the account bank slots, it's 1,000 Zen for a single row of account bank. So that's about 2,000 Zen in value there. And then a single character slot, they don't sell them in singles, so you'd have to buy a 2-pack. So you're looking at 625 Zen there, essentially. And then, otherwise, if you did want to count it as just a single thing, then you're looking at half of what 625 would be. Then, for the 5 retrain tokens, you're looking at 1,320 Zen. That assumes you buy a 4-pack and then a single retrain. So you do it the economical way. For a total value, you're looking at 4,445 Zen for just the one-time unlocks. So that alone is about 3 times the value of the pack itself right there. Then, once you get into the per tune unlocks and everything for every single tune, the 30 inventory slots, you're looking at 1,200 Zen. That's 3 12-packs of slots and everything, so 3 groups of 12. Then for the 60 bank slots, that's 1,500 Zen, so that's 5 12-packs. The 2 BOF slots is 250 Zen, so you're looking at 2,950 Zen for the per tune unlocks. So assuming it's just the one character, that's all you've got, you're looking at 7,395 value, assuming the one character. So that's a pretty big deal. And then we actually calculated in what it would be if you used the character slot and then claimed this stuff. So assuming you created the character, then you claimed the per tunes, you're looking at 10,345 Zen of additional value, or of value total just from this one pack. So that's that's a little over $100 in value that they're giving you for just that. And yeah, MMO, that's which I don't know how well you can actually see it on the screen there, but you can see how we figured it. I tried to put it in the notes. We've got, you know, the account bank, the 2,000. You figure that's two purchases of 1,000 each, so there's 2,000.
Characters, correct?
Well, this was assuming the original character that buys the pack, and then you're assuming, because you get a character slot with it. Yeah, you get a character slot with it. So that's, whenever you assume and take that character into account, you build the character, you claim the one-time or you claim the per character pack, that's about 10,000 Zen worth of value that they're giving you there. So, and then that's just those 2 characters essentially. Now, if you're some weirdo like me that has 20 plus characters, for every additional character beyond just these 2, add the 2,950 to it.
Yeah.
So you're at that point, you're looking at, for every additional character beyond those 2, add 2,950 to it.
So we
and
have
that's
a
what you're
friend,
getting.
for example,
So
who has 54 characters. He's maxed out his character slots. Okay? So assuming, and right now if you have the full character slots, you can't buy the pack, but assuming he had only 53 character slots purchased and was able to buy the pack, the value for his account would be worth over 100,000 Zen equivalent for what he's getting unlocked when you calculate it for what you would have to spend on each tune to get that same stuff.
Let me actually, because I've got a calculator put up on screen, or off screen here. So then that'd be the 2950 times 54, plus then we're going to take into account the 44, 45 for the one time. So yeah, for his account and everything, that's to him 163,745 Zen worth of value. And then if you divide that by 100, so to him, that is $1,637.45 worth of value. Which I think is a really good deal for just 15 bucks.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big deal. And like I say, I know we took a long time to discuss this, but there was a lot. This is a very big deal. Something that the game hadn't really done before. They hadn't moved away, because we've had these kind of things for years. I mean, pretty much since the game came out, you know, we had a monthly sub, and then we had the lifetime option, stuff like that. And then once we moved to free-to-play, we've had that. So this is a pretty big thing to change essentially close to 8 years worth of precedence here. But yeah, like I say, anyways, guys, that's some of the big stuff. We'll have this in the notes for you guys. I know we went over this quite a bit, but we wanted to kind of discuss, and because this is a very big deal that they're moving away from this and everything. But anyways, that like I say, we'll have that in the notes. Moving along, finally, we have our, let's see, which one is this? This is, let me close that out now, finally. But anyways, moving along, we have our budget build of the evening and whatnot. Now, for this particular budget build and everything, we have a Bajoran Interceptor, and this is our requested ship this evening. Now, for our Bajoran Interceptor, this is going to be a 1-key budget. Now, our 1-key budgets are a variation we do from time to time on a 1-key budget. A 1-key budget assumes that you have a maximum EC spending limit for whatever the current going rate of a key is. A normal bare bones budget is 2 million. In this case, for tonight's budget build, we assume that somehow the player got a hold of a lockbox key, either through saving Zen or saved up the equivalent value, and in this case you're looking at a EC budget of 4.4 million. Now, the Bajoran Interceptor was our anniversary ship this year, and actually came with a few good odds and ends. It comes with the Bajoran Warp Core, it comes also with the Domino console, and it also comes with the heavy weapon, which is the Voice of the Prophets, and everything. And for our particular user here, had requested phaser dual beam banks and whatnot, and let me click into the game real quick for just a second. But anyways, for this particular ship and everything, we have a 5-2 layout as far as regular weapons go. Then we have our heavy weapons slot. Now, for our forward weapons, we have 4 of the dual phaser beam banks, and then we also have our quantum phase torpedo up front, In the rear of the ship, we have a crafted phaser Omni, and then the trilithium phaser Omni. Everything for our heavy weapon, we're using the one that comes with the ship, and that is the Voice of the Prophets. Then for our shields, deflector, engines, and warp core, we're doing a full 4-piece Bajoran space set. Now, the Bajoran space set is a rather nice one in this instance. Let's go ahead and actually have a copy of this in the game for you guys, so let's take a quick look at the set bonuses here. And apparently it's going to be that guy and make me equip a piece of it, so let's do this. So for this particular set and everything, you get a little bit of phaser, disruptor, and plasma damage just by having 2 pieces of the gear equipped. So it's a pretty nice little bonus and everything. Now some of the numbers are going to be slightly distorted because, again, we're technically on a ground map as I'm reading this. Then the 3-set bonus actually increases the drain and the coronal ejection abilities on the sets themselves. Now what's so good about the Bajoran Warp Core is, mouse over that really quickly, is it has the siphoning field ability. To up to 3 foes within 2 kilometers and everything. It's a -7 all power drain, or -7 all power levels for 3 seconds to the target. Then after 3 seconds you get the same equivalent amount of power. And then once it's modified through the set bonuses, you get some other good stuff, which is a damage resistance rating, a debuff to the enemy, and also a damage resistance rating buff to yourself. So it's a very nice warp core, but getting back into the set bonuses, then you have the... Actually, the 4-piece gets into that. It adds a turn rate debuff of 33% and the damage resistance rating debuff to the enemy that you hit with a corresponding turn rate debuff and... words. Manipulative Energy Siphoning Field now additionally debuffs turn rate by 33% and resistances by 15 damage rating while providing you with a corresponding turn rate and damage resistance rating buff. Got a little tongue-tied there, apparently, this evening. But, anyways, for this particular shield, this is a... it gives the retaliatory coronal ejection. Whenever any of the shield facings are depleted, it can trigger once every 30 seconds per individual facing, so it can potentially trigger 4 different times. Now it's a nice little chunk of plasma damage to all enemies within the cone, and to any of them that are hit, they take so much plasma damage per second for 6 seconds. So this can be very nasty. And a good thing that myself and good friend Timberwolf actually discovered is this is one of the re-rollable sets at the moment. So if you're looking for a set that you could potentially roll a couple of the mods away, say one of the cap mods on the shield, to something like regen, you can do that.
Rolled one of my characters to be all regen. 10 times 4. That's a bad.
Indeed.
Bad
but yep. And then take a quick look at the Voice of the Prophets and everything. It does physical damage and everything. It can also tag 3 additional foes within 2 kilometers of the primary target for some additional physical damage. And this was the weapon that, if you guys remember, was, I believe, initially supposed to be the 3 damage types. Was supposed to smack them for damage of each of the 3 types, but got changed at the last minute.
You're thinking of the Alliance Hybrid Cannon. That's from the Andorians, but they realized they didn't want something boosted by consoles, so they changed the Hyper Cannon to radiation. This was something different.
Okay. I always got those 2 confused. I really did. But, so yeah, good little heavy weapon there. But anyways, as far as our consoles, we'll take a quick look at those in a second. But for our device slots, we have 2 device slots available on the ship. We like to think of them usually as personal preference. There is no set-in-stone device, per se, that you absolutely have to run. And for this particular device, one that we will recommend, however, is one that you'll have a chance to pick up leveling naturally through the story, and that is the Subspace Field Modulator. Now this little device, it's a nice little thing. It essentially gives you the free equivalent of a neutronium armor while it's active, and the only downside to it is it does debuff you for a minus 400 protonic damage resist rating. Now, there's not really a lot of enemies or effects in-game that deal protonic damage, but there are enough of them that it does warrant a mention, at the very least. So do kind of be careful. Some other devices that, you know, if you're looking for stuff, could be the energy amplifiers, weapon batteries, Jebonite hardpoints, anything like that, really, if you're looking for good devices. Now for this particular ship, you also have a 3 engineering, 4 science, 4 tactical layout, and the user's wanting pure damage and everything for this and whatnot. Now, we do have a Trillium deplating on here. This gives the, essentially a, not hardly a full neutronium's worth of value. It's basically a neutronium armor and a field generator console slammed into one thing, so it will give a bit of shield capacity as well as damage resistance. And it will also give a bit of shield power, or a bit of shield power to, or words, I believe it's a bit of aux to shield power, and everything is a bonus, so it is nice to have in that aspect. And this is a good budget console to have on the free end, and whatnot. Then we also have our assimilated module. This gives a nice chunk of critical chance and severity, as well as a bit of control expertise, which is very nice to have, on the budget end especially. Then we also have our reinforced armaments console that is going to pair with our Trilithium Omni to give us a 2-piece, which we'll take a look at in just a minute. Now our reinforced armaments, essentially in a nutshell, gives a nice little bit of stats that can help keep you alive a little bit. But the big reason for this is the power transfer rate that it gives, which can increase damage. Then we have the Domino console that actually comes with the ship. It gives a nice chunk of phaser damage and everything, and we'll actually mouse over this in game for you. And then this particular set, it's 15, or particular console, kind of words tonight for some reason. Whenever you activate it for 10 seconds, it's a 25% firing cycle haste to energy weapons that can be extended by kills. It's also a 25% bonus all damage, so that is a Cat 2, I believe, bonus. A recharge speed for buffs, a plus 100% recharge speed for weapons. And then if you defeat a foe, it's a plus 2-second duration to all effects, and may only occur up to 10 times. So you're potentially looking at almost a 30-second power in this particular instance. So a very, very nasty thing to have. Then our next console is the Quantum Phase Converter. The main reason we're having this here is for the phaser damage. It's essentially going to give us a nice boost of that, as well as give us access to the 2-set Quantum Phase bonus. Then we have our Temporal Disentanglement Suite. Now, this particular console gives a nice chunk of shield capacity. It also gives a little bit of shield damage resistance. But the big reason we're using this here is it gives a nice boost to critical severity and critical hit depending on your aux power levels. So it kind of touches all 3 areas, essentially, and everything. It can give you a little bit of survival, a little bit of damage reduction, a little bit of damage, so it's not bad. Then, for our last science console, we have a Exotic Particle Focuser. This is going to be the Drain X ×2 variety, which is going to boost the drain from our Bajoran core and make that a bit stronger. And then for our tactical consoles, we have 4 of the Phaser Relays, also from the same mission that we got our Trillium D and our Dual Banks. Now let's look at our set bonuses really quickly before moving on to some of the more behind-the-scenes powers and things. Now for our Quantum Phase stuff, scroll down here. Now, because we have the torpedo on here, this is going to also give us a 2-set bonus. We're going to get 15 accuracy, And the 2-set bonus will also double the potency of the Quantum Phase Weapon Shield Drain, doubles the potency of the Quantum Phase High Yield Torpedo Shield Heal. So, very good stuff to have. Then, for our 2-set bonus... Now, for our 2-set bonus on the Trilithium stuff, this is a pretty big deal. You're getting 5% firing cycle haste for your energy weapons and a plus 15 flight speed. Now that 5% is going to stack up with things like your Domino console, whenever that is active. And if you manage to get a hold of one, or if you have it, things like your Timeline Stabilizer, things like that. So, it's going to add up pretty quick, and on the budget end, this is a very nice set bonus to have. But, as far as overall gear, that's what we have this evening. Let's move on to our skills. Now the skills and everything, this is where we set ourselves up for damage. This is where we get most of the survival to keep the ship alive as well. Because we want to be able to do a lot of damage, but we don't want to be blowing up every 5 seconds either. Now for this particular build, this is a variation that we use. It's kind of a middle-of-the-road type of thing. We have 2 points into improved hull and shield capacity, 1 point into shield and hull restoration each, 3 points into energy weapon training for free weapon damage. We have 2 points into improved EPS flow, that's going to give us power transfer. We have 1 point into impulse expertise. And we also have points into improved control and drain expertise each. It's going to improve our control powers as well as the drain of certain things like our Bajoran Warp Core. We also have 2 points into improved targeting expertise and defensive maneuvering each. This is going to make our ship harder to hit, while also giving us some accuracy rating to offset firing mode penalties through things like thaw. And to answer the question about no points in torps, we didn't feel they were needed because you can make up for them elsewhere. The main bulk of your damage is going to come from your phasers and not necessarily the torpedo. Though if you wanted to shift some points around to pick up torpedo, you could very well do so. Then we also picked up all 3 points into our hull plating. This is going to be free damage resistance just by having these on the ship. And the reason we picked these up is to kind of give the ship something to keep it alive. There's not but like 3 any major healing powers that we gave the ship. Everything else is dedicated to pure damage. So if you're not going to use a lot of healing abilities, then you want to make sure you can at least take the hits. And we have 3 points into shield hardness. This is going to reduce the damage to the shields, help try to keep us alive. Then we also have all 3 points into weapon amplification and specialization. This is going to give us a nice chunk of critical chance and severity just by having these on the ship. The amplification is about 40% severity, then the critical chance is actually 4%. Then for our captain, we have defensive and offensive subsystem tuning. This is free power to each of the different systems. If you wanted to, you could further specialize into an individual system to pick up more power to those systems. 2 points into our EPG. This is going to increase damage of exotic-based effects and similar type of powers. Then we also have 3 points into our long-range targeting sensors. This is going to reduce our weapon's drop-off penalty to next to nothing. Then we also have your choice of either hull pin or shield pin. There is no right or wrong answer to this. Arguments can actually be made for either power and everything. In this particular instance, we went with the hull penetration. As long as you have at least one of them, then you're doing pretty good, I think. Then we also have a point in warp core potential for additional free power to subsystems just by having this. And then finally we have 3 points into our tactical readiness. This is going to give a nice bit of cooldown reduction to our tactical powers. This is going to let our powers come back up a heck of a lot quicker than they otherwise would normally. I believe it is a 20% bonus recharge. So very nice to have since we're trying to go for damage here. For specializations, we went with Intel Primary and a Temporal Operative Secondary. So a pretty decent departure from what we normally would do, but or at least what I would normally do, I should say. But there it is. There's our traits. Now for our traits and everything, this is where it gets kind of interesting, I think. We have elusive, which is going to make our ship harder to hit. This is free defensive value and everything. Then we have beam training for free beam damage. Then we have beam barrage, which is a R&D crafting trait. We always like to assume that as you've leveled the character, you've chosen at least one crafting school to level with that character. In this case, we assume that beams is the chosen school. Then you have fleet coordinator for free damage based on how many people are in your party, up to 5 people, and this does include yourself, so anywhere between a 2% to a 10% damage boost. Then we have Duelist Fervor as one of our traits we were able to pick up on the cheap this evening. It is the nearby enemies dying increases your damage and accuracy rating for a short duration, so it's a pretty nice little trait to have. Then we have your career-specific trait, in this case of the last-ditch effort. If you are not a tactical captain but would like to utilize the build, simply swap in your own career-specific trait, and that's the only real major change that I see you would have to make. Then you also have the point-blank shot, which increases energy weapon damage the closer you are to the target, up to a certain maximum. Then for this particular power and everything, it's actually pretty nasty. The next thing we have is Operative for free critical chance and severity. And this is, it's a decent little boost. It's a 1% chance, 2% severity, and which is actually nice to come out of a free trait. Then we have the redirected armor plating and everything. This comes from our new featured episode, and this is one of our defensive abilities and everything to keep the ship alive, because it's going to do a nice chunk of damage, but we also want to make sure it can stay in the fight and not get blown up in 1 or 2 hits either. Whenever you are hit from the sides or are shot from behind, then you get a, I believe it is a plus 30 all damage resist rating for 5 seconds, and as long as you keep getting hit, this will refresh itself and will stay active. However, it does not stack. For our starship traits and everything, we have the improved predictive algorithms from Intel and everything. This is going to give a nice little bit of benefit here. It's going to improve mainly our accuracy rating. Then we have the best defense. Your attack patterns will grant a whole healing buff along with their normal effects, and this is one of the only, if not the only, free starship traits in the game that we could find at the moment. And this is going to give a nice little bit of something extra to your attack patterns. Then, for one of our other money traits this evening, we have the Punch It, which is whenever you drop below 50% hull strength, you can cleanse crowd control debuffs off yourself. You gain increased defense and mobility for a short period of time, and can knock out some enemy subsystems. Then we have Pilfered Power. Enemy weapon and aux power levels are drained to enhance your own power levels plus weapon firing speed. So that's pretty nice traits, I think. And we did manage to fill all 4 traits, which is something nice. For space reputations, we have...
So these 2 traits do not come off of other ships. They actually come out of lockboxes. You can buy them on the exchange for under $1 million apiece, which is how we were able to put it.
Yep. But and do definitely shop around, kind of keep a lookout, because occasionally you can get them for a little bit less than what we paid, and we've got all that stuff in the notes for you guys. For space reputation powers, we have the advanced targeting systems for free critical severity, precision for free critical hit chance, aux power offense, which is going to give an accuracy boost and damage boost based on our aux power level. Then we have, for our final thing, the tactical advantage, which is going to give a growing debuff on your target at starting at 50% hull strength, and it's going to scale up as they get weaker and weaker. So, very nice fourth and final power and everything. Another alternative here could be the chronocapacitor array if you think you need it. Otherwise, this will do you just fine. Then for our active reputations, we have the Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity. This particular power is a nice little AoE kick in the pants to enemies that is going to do physical damage to them, to anybody caught within it, as well as slowing them down. Then we have our Biomolecular Shield Generator. This is the little green ball you see people use in ISA and similar missions. It provides a shield healing to yourself whenever you step inside of it immediately. Gives a nice damage reduction to shields and an increase to shield regen for anybody inside the little bubble. Then, for our next power, we have the Quantum Singularity Manipulation. This increases all science stats by plus 100 while it is active, in addition to providing a temporary cloaking effect. This particular power, to get a lot more use out of it, throw any exotic buffs you may have first, follow up with this particular power, crack off maybe a gravity well or something, and then fire Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity. Something like that. And you can get a lot more bang for your buck by using the powers that way. For our final active reputation, we have the Deploy Sensor Interference Platform. This is a nice little oh crap button and everything for this particular thing, and whenever you throw this little platform up, it will taunt enemies to itself and everything until it is either destroyed or the power runs out.
Alternatively, as a more DPS focus, you could put the Tier 5 Nukara trait, which was the refracting Tetrion Cascade.
You could. Yep. So, two good options for your fourth power and everything. Like I say, we wanted to give a heavy DPS focus, but we didn't want to completely gimp our budget requester and everything, so it's got a few little get-out-of-dodge powers if he gets into trouble. Then for actual bridge officer powers this evening, the ship itself comes with a Lieutenant Universal / Pilot, a Commander Tactical, Lieutenant Commander Tactical / Pilot, Ensign Engineering, and Lieutenant Commander Science. Now for the Commander Tactical this evening, we went with a Torpedo Spread 1 to take advantage of the torpedo. We went with a Attack Pattern Beta 1, a copy of that there, a Thaw 3, and then a Focused Assault 3. Focused Assault 3 you can actually pick up as a reward from the Butterfly mission. Then for our Lieutenant Commander Tactical / Pilot, we went with a Tactical Team 1, and then duplicates of the Attack Pattern Beta 1 and Thaw 3. Reason being is you're not going to have a lot of cooldown to push these to global just yet, so we're running duplicates in this particular instance. For our Ensign Engineering, we went with a Emergency to Weapons 1. This is going to provide a nice little damage increase as well as weapon power for the duration it's active. Then for our Lieutenant Universal / Pilot, we went with an Engineering Team. This is going to be one of the defensive powers if and when it's needed. It's going to heal the hull a little bit and can also purge certain debuffs like the Viral Matrix that the Iconians love to use. Then we have a duplicate for Emergency to Weapons, which is Emergency to Weapons 2, and this is going to guarantee that we can keep this up pretty much all the time. Then, for our Lieutenant Commander Science, our final seat on the ship, we have a Science Team 1. This is going to heal our shields a bit, if and when it's needed, as well as purging certain debuffs like a subnucleonic-based effect. And we also have the Hazard Emitters 2, which is the heal over time, will purge certain debuffs like Borg Plasma Fires. And then finally, we have our Gravity Well 1, which is a nice little control power that's going to play nice with things like our Pilfered Power, and also our Exotic Particle Focuser console. But that's what we have for Bridge Officer powers and everything. Take a quick look at our cost and everything. Now, out of our total budget, we had a 4.4 million limit and everything. We used 4,265,000 EC, which I think is actually not bad for a ship like this. You're looking at 17,500 dilithium total in order to kit out the ship. That's about 3 days total build time, assuming only one character refining dilithium per day. So, yeah. That's what we have for the ship. Thoughts from the panel?
Does it look pretty?
Of course.
It can be, I guess.
It's the Bajoran Interceptor. It's fine. Yeah, it looks great.
Yep.
This is actually one of our. So
I'm
this is
glad you
actually
like it,
one of
good
our
sir.
cheaper builds. Even when you go by dilithium costs, only a 3-day build time.
Yep. Normally, I think we've usually had between 4 to 7 days max is what we've had as some of the average. Usually between 4 to 6 days, and 3 days, that's not bad. And like I say, it's just a hair over 2 days,
Right.
so of course we're going to round that up and say 3, because yeah, so 2 days and you've got the majority of everything on the ship. So, yeah. But, anyways, that's our budget build for the evening and whatnot. Now, we've got
Yes.
the Teacher's Corner for this evening. I normally show a brief few seconds, but I believe you said there was an issue.
When I was recording the
So,
Teacher's Corner, I had two game windows open on my computer, and apparently, and I didn't realize it before I went and published it, the recorder recorded the wrong game window. So I'm talking about what I'm looking at on my screen, what I'm looking at, and what I'm thinking is being recorded, and it was showing my other inactive game that I had up for something else. But the topic of the video, and I will be redoing the video as soon as we get off the air, because right before we went on time. So I will be redoing it right after we get off the air, and I'll be posting it up before I go to sleep tonight. Don't worry, for those that actually want to see it with the correct video there that's going along with it. But the topic is training your bridge officers to use specialization skills. So this is something that comes up. I actually see this question a lot from players. They buy a ship, like say the Miracle Worker ships, or the pilot ships, or or one of the intel ships. And they go, well, how does my officer use these Miracle Worker skills? How do I train them? And so the answer is you have to get a specialization manual, and so I go over how you get those. There's 2 ways, and applying that to your character, and all of that. Or I will be going. New video that will be out tomorrow. Questions, comments?
Sounds pretty good. And by the time this episode gets uploaded on YouTube for you guys,
with the correct
link, correct version of Teacher's Corner for you all. So,
An updated link, yeah.
Yes, and with the correct link, so you guys will be able to see that. But anyways, moving on to our final segment of the evening, we have the RP Corner with Artie.
Okay, so
what do you got for
I
us this
did
week,
something a little bit funny, and I don't know how some people are so gun-ho about Star Trek, but there's something I've come to realize. All right, as you might have known recently, yesterday was May the 4th, and today is apparently Revenge of the 5th, or Star Wars. So I started to think about this, and started doing a little bit digging, and come to realize that Star Wars may actually be in Star Trek. as a fictional show in Star Trek. Here's where I'm working on this. All right. So, Star Wars, the first rendition of the movie before it was renamed to a new, Episode 4 or whatever, was released in 1977. All right, and then you had Empire Strikes Back in 1980 and Return of the Jedi in 1983. Most of the history of Star Trek, like during that era, wasn't too different of what we had in real life history. Maybe a few things added here and there because you had Khan doing stuff, you had the Eugenics Wars and all that, but that wasn't so big that was deterring from normal life, more or less. At least for certain areas. It was a big conflict, but you still had normal people going around doing things. So the idea is that it's possible, if history was still going as normal, you still had Star Wars. This is where it also gets funny, because with that, I kept on doing a little bit more digging and realized that nothing really changes in history all the way up until even past, 2018. You got everything basically that we have up to now, more or less, with all the Star Wars stuff. Maybe even before a little bit now, because from what I've looked through with both Memory Alpha and Memory Beta links for Star Trek information, in 2018, Earth started sending off their first sleeper ship to go to Alpha Centauri. That's a big push for technology that we would have today. So with that in mind, there's a little bit more technology added or detracted from current day. So maybe there's not that much difference of what actually happened with real life and in Star Trek, besides that point. So the theory itself is that we have the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, a lot of the novels, video games, comic books, anything else you can add, basically up till anything before 2016. And that's where I come to a pause and ask what you guys think about this, because many people go, oh, they can't put Star Wars in my Star Trek, and yet it does technically work. So what are you guys' thoughts on this?
Just saying, it wouldn't be too hard of a stretch to imagine in the Star Trek time frame of a energy-based weapon like a lightsaber, although obviously they probably wouldn't call it that. But you figure you've got Ferengi energy whips and everything. You've got obviously the hand phasers, weapons like that, which would be the Star Wars equivalent of a blaster. It's not unreasonable in my book to assume that maybe something like a frozen phaser technology exists. So you could technically have different types of lightsabers, even such as a phaser-based, disruptor-based, plasma-based.
I think
anti-proton or polaron-based.
What I mean that Star Wars is in Star Trek is that it's Star Wars as a fictional sense of we have in real life is in Star Trek like it would be in real life. Not that, you actually had everything in Star Wars actually happen. That's what I mean. Like, we could probably adapt technology that we see in that, but as people in Star Trek would say, that's science fiction. This is reality. Oh, no, but no, that makes sense.
I get you. I was just
I can see
throwing
that
the point out there
that use in-game stuff already. We have the Tholian sword that absorbs energy and basically emits it as just onto the blade itself, making itself into an energy weapon itself. So that's technically could work. Yeah, all that is that's basically it. But could you imagine, like, now instead of going, yeah, I've made this laser sword. Where'd you get the idea? Oh, I was watching some something in the historical files, something about in the 1970s or something called Star Wars. There was all these weird, like, fighters and stuff going on in space. There's a big guy in a black suit. There was some lady on the run from these guys. It was crazy, man. Also, that's how I made the sword. So I'm going to start cutting things open. I'll catch you guys around.
Yeah. Well, you figure take even and like you said, there could be an instance where somebody does draw a idea from that, watching something, and they think, oh, well, let me take this little chip of a dilithium crystal, let's put it in here and see if I can't make some kind of energy sword. Or whatever, just as something different.
I don't know. Putting Star Wars and Star Trek.
It can exist simultaneously.
I mean...
Even though I'm pretty sure to a lot of people already just spoke blasphemy.
But...
Oh, same here.
I don't know if I can make that leap. I don't know if I see him actually gel together. It's an interesting thought, though.
Right. But that's basically what I have. I'm actually wondering what the our viewers and other fans and whatnot have to say about this. So if you feel like it, when this goes on YouTube, comment your best theory that add to this or detract from this, or what your headcanon about this entire situation is. I'm just really interested. I may even go back to this next week and talk more about it with how all the comments are right now in chat.
But yeah, anyways, it's a pretty interesting topic this evening. But anyways, we've gone a lot longer than what we'd actually intended to and everything, which I'm sure people aren't really surprised at this point. But we did have that really big topic we wanted to kind of hash out and discuss, because that's a huge, huge change for the game and whatnot. But anyways, that's our show for this evening, folks, and whatnot. Also, before we go, shout out to our good friends over at the Temporal Armada. Very cool people, very good bunch. Definitely check them out and their program. Also, a shout out to our other good friends over at the Kurtang Pirate Radio. The party is there. Definitely check them out. You'll appreciate the different varieties of music they have playing at all times. Also, if you have any requests for budget builds, feel free to let us know. Today's budget request actually did, today's budget build actually did come as a request. And everything, let us know what type of ship you want and everything, what ship you have for us to work with. Let us know, what kind of a budget you've got to work with. Could be more of a bare bones, more of a mid-range, more of a higher-end budget even. Let us know as well what type of a role you want. Do you want something, more tank-focused? Do you want pure damage? Do you want to be a space wizard, or what are you looking to do? If you feel that your gear and your ship are in order, and you figure maybe if you could just learn some more ins and outs of piloting the ship a little better, if you could just figure out how to get it to turn just that little bit quicker, or something along those lines, feel free to get a brief little video clip recorded of your piloting and submit that to us on our website. We'll check that out, and, we'll see if we can hook you up in that department with your piloting. After all, we are the Pilot Review Show. Also, if you have any bugs, feel free to submit those and everything. I will be sure that the devs see them and whatnot. And everything, especially with this new pack, if you've got any bugs with that kind of stuff. But, also, if you've got any requests for the Teacher's Corner, feel free to let her know. She does take requests. And maybe it's just you don't really understand how to work this particular part of the DOF system, or whatever it is, and she might just do a video over your thing. If you've got any requests for the RP Corner, feel free to let Artie know. He does
as well
take
as any
requests
random
on that stuff.
thing that's like I talked
Could
about
be,
today.
yeah, pretty much. And it could be something as simple as, how do I treat something like Star Wars in a Star Trek universe if I want to borrow elements of it? But, and he may just talk about your thing. But, anyways, guys, that's what we have this evening. Whatnot. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the show and everything. I know we kind of rambled on a little bit earlier, but was a very big topic we wanted to kind of hash out a little bit. And, thanks everybody for joining us this evening. Thank you also Timberwolf for joining us. If you were still president at the console.
Still president?
I'm still very much president.
Yes. Yep.
It's a very bigly console. We're gonna do great things.
Yep. But console, the PC, whatever the heck platform we're on, you know what I mean. Oh, good lord.
I'm gonna build a wall around Gradassi and make the Bajorans pay for it!
It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be so huge.
Oh, jeez.
The Gold joke I saw earlier. It just worked, sorry.
Yeah.
You're all fired. But, except for Timber. But, anyways, guys, we hope you've enjoyed our show for this evening, and this is the Pilot Review Show, reminding you to have your tribbles spayed or neutered.
Catch you around.
Goodbye, everybody.